What up? The Skelly Disco build has completely blasted all content in the new Endgame. It obliterates bosses, the clear is good, and it is tanky. It was also very cheap to get set up at the start of running maps. This build is a cannon, but not a glass cannon, just the traditional kind of cannon, the ones that are made out of iron, or steel, or what, I don't know, cannon material. Anyways, we've made some updates to the build to boost the damage and keep the tankiness feeling really good despite the nerfs to energy shield with patch 0.5. So let's just talk about what we've done with the build since the last update. Everything, basically, the whole in-game campaign, all of the bosses, all the pinnacle bosses super easily. We've even farmed some pinnacle bosses on stream and off stream, you know, and actually made some pretty good currency off of some nice drops. We've killed a bunch of powerful map bosses in 200% delirious maps, which, I mean, they were pretty tanky, but it felt pretty good. And then we've upgraded the build since then even. We've done every league mechanic except for the temple, just haven't bothered with it yet, and they've all just fallen right over. So in terms of what this build is good at, I mean, I want to say everything, and so I'll say everything, but it is an extra good bosser. It is an amazing bosser. The boss damage is outrageous. It has been really good at every league mechanic, but it especially shines on the more difficult ones, the new redesigned Delirium and Ritual. These make a lot of sense considering they are technically more bossing-oriented mechanics unlike Abyss or Breach. It is still very good at Breach and Abyss, though. It just kind of steamrolls over them, to be honest, especially with the redesign or the addition of Puppet Master into the game. It's actually able to run and gun very smoothly. Yeah, so that's pretty good. So let's actually just talk about what we're doing with skills here. So one thing that we kind of deviated from the way that we had set up the PoB is we're sticking with the same set of skill gems, support gems on Razan and Kalari. That's the same. And we're doing the same thing with the Sceptre. One note on the Sceptre, for whatever reason, they did take that spark window out, but this is the Sceptre, the Powered Zealot from that Intermission 3, the Ravine area. It just doesn't have the spark tab anymore, but this is the correct guy. Other than that, I've actually just gone kind of cheap and just not thrown a 6th socket on any of the minions. I was just kind of saving currency for, I don't know, future builds or just to be frugal, wait for the price to go down. And honestly, I noticed no difference in damage output or clear or anything like that. So in terms of the way that you want to like portion out your spirit, during the early parts of the campaign, really throughout most of the campaign, you'll want to have as many snipers as you can, and those are kind of your main workforce until you unlock Kalari and then later Razan. And then once you get muster, you know, that's why we're trying to use one of every single summon possible. We get more damage out of having more guys, so you kind of want to just spread all of your spirit out and having as many guys as possible. Once you get to the end game and you have those powered zealots, that's your main workforce for clearing, and getting higher spirit is good. It is more DPS. But it's not the end-all be-all. You know, like if I had one extra powered zealot, like if I had enough spirit to fit in one more guy, I wouldn't suddenly go from like insane damage to more insane. It would be about the same. So it's not that hugely important to get an extra zealot. Not bad, but not mandatory by any stretch. With that being said, I have still kind of stuck with mostly the same setup as before. In terms of like Venter's Gamble and Darkness Enthroned with a Idol of Egrin and Idol of Ralakesh, because this was all just very, very cheap to set up. And, you know, not to jump ahead to gear stuff, but like the Breach ring and belt options are fairly expensive, but they can be way better for your damage output, you know, once you've fully optimized that, if you want to, you know, really just to kill everything ultra hard, even on 200% deliriousness. But yeah, that's ultimately been it. Like the setup for minions has been pretty much the same as before. I did have enough spirit left over, not quite to get to a 5th zealot, not really that close. I think they cost like 43 at my current spirit value, and I'm at like 32 left over, so I could do 2 extra clerics. I played around with that for a while. They do a decent job of keeping everybody alive. I've also played around with an extra sniper or reaver just to have like a little more damage or a little more tanking. I couldn't tell a difference at all. So in terms of the passive tree, we've made a couple of changes, like I said, in terms of just wanting to keep the build tankier. This is a level 96 setup. We've gone back and taken Mana Blessing. It's not mandatory by any stretch, you know, it's just a little bit of extra mana and then 20% mana regen. Not mandatory, right? But like playing with and without this, it actually it was a little noticeable. Like, it did feel a little bit nicer to have this bonus, but you can very easily drop it if you have any mana regen anywhere else on your gear or whatever. Or if you just don't feel like you need it, like that works too. So we dropped these 2 points going into Crystalline Flesh. I couldn't really tell the difference between monsters killing the minions or not, whether I had this or not. So like, what's the point, right? And then 3% attack and cast speed for your minions is very weak. So yeah, just drop that. And instead we took this entire cluster for Puppet Master. So, you know, Puppet Master on its own, before you have Archon of Undeath, really isn't all that great. Archon of Undeath is this like insane increase to damage and cooldown reduction on all of your command skills. You get a 15% chance to get it when you cast a command skill, and then it goes on a 20-second cooldown. It lasts for 10 seconds initially, and then goes on a 20-second cooldown. So it's not in PoB yet, and it's not going to show up in PoB, but there is a new hidden anoint called Dominion, and I can show that off in-game. It just shows up over here. It requires a Contempt, a Suffering, and an Isolation. Contempt are a brand new emotion, I think. Well, you know, brand new to PoE anyway. And they require you to have this bonus. You can't scare me anymore in order for them to be capable of dropping. And they're pretty expensive, right? Like this whole anoint at the time of doing it a couple of days ago was, I think, 7 divines, which is more than the amulet that I put it on is worth. And it's not mandatory, but boy is it good, because it gives you reduced effective Archon buffs, which is maybe not great. And then no recovery period after your Archon buff falls off. So instead of 10 seconds of uptime and 20 seconds of downtime, it's just 10 seconds of uptime followed by a couple of seconds of downtime while you're waiting for it to re-trigger. Like I can kind of show this in my hideout here. There we go. Archon of Undeath is up. And this allows you to just absolutely jackhammer your Kalari's Deception and also your Kalari's Brutality for that matter. And like rotationally, what you'll basically do is just double tap one, double tap the other, double tap one, double tap the other, and then just try to keep Razan's Trap down as well. Nothing will be alive long enough for you to really think about a real rotation as you're doing this, right? But that's sort of the approach that you're going to be taking. And the thing about having Dominion, that anoint in, is that you are capable of re-triggering that Archon of Undeath very quickly. That's about the only use for our Razan's brand, like when that falls off, which you can't right-click it off, apparently. You don't have to spam Razan's brand, but it has a very fast use time, like very fast cast time and no cooldown, unlike the rest of your skills. So it is something you can very quickly jackhammer to get your Puppet Master stacks up, or to get that Archon of Undeath back on you. So Puppet Master is the other new bonus that was added in for minion builds in this league, and it's increased skill speed, reduced movement speed penalty for your command skills, increased damage for your command skills, and then increased movement and skill speed for yourself, just generally, and you get a baseline of 5 stacks. You know, this is a set of bonuses, right? So baseline of 5 stacks, you get an extra stack out of Puppet Master Chance. All of the skills for it are named Puppet Master Chance, all of them, even ones that don't give it. And so we've taken this full cluster. Every single one of these nodes is really good, especially when combined with Archon of Undeath. And then we've taken this side of this cluster just to get up to 85% chance. And or I think it's 80% chance actually, all added up. And you could theoretically take some more points in it, but I didn't feel like we needed it, just in playing around with it. Like, we're cruising around at the max of like 6 stacks pretty easily. You can bump that up even higher with a crafting item. I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. Definitely not necessary, but holy moly is the damage insane if you do craft up a scepter like this. This is a very expensive scepter that's like complete overkill for any of the content that's in the game currently. Other than that, we haven't made many massive changes to the tree. I mean, we didn't really feel like we needed to. Like, we're not taking Hallowed or anything like that. We are taking this wheel, though, Soul Bloom. All of these faster start of energy shield recharge nodes are really good. They've pretty much nerfed or removed all of the increased energy shield recharge rate bonuses throughout the tree. The only stuff that I'm aware of are, like, downsides that, like, reduce it, like Convalescence. And then, you know, this one small passive rapid recharge. But most of the rest of those energy shield recharge rate bonuses are gone out of the tree, so you do have to get them on gear. Kind of important to do. But just really getting faster start is, like, I think more important ultimately, because it's just waiting 2.5 seconds versus waiting like 1 3/4 seconds. That it actually winds up being pretty significant And yeah, this has worked out really well with this full setup, and with Chaos Inoculation, you don't have to go CI. Basically, you just kind of want to make that distinction of like, when you find that poison and bleed are causing you more problems than losing the like 1,000 to 1,500 life, you know, that's when you want to make that swap. But I wouldn't say that there's like some set amount, like, you know, 6k or 8k or 10k or 12k ES, where it's like, this is the right thing to do. It's more about the other stats. Like if you have no faster start of energy shield recharge or no increased energy shield recharge rate, then it's probably going to feel pretty bad to make the swap to CI. Even if you had like 15k ES, it would feel bad if you're waiting 3 full seconds to start regenning a very small amount at a time. All right, let's talk a little bit about gear now. So I already mentioned the Anoint. This is the best one. This amulet is actually kind of bad. This is the one piece of gear that I have equipped that I think is really stinky, but it's okay, right? Like ultimately it's been more than good enough to do everything that I wanted to do with it, and to get like a really, really good upgrade amulet, it would either take just like, I don't know, a day of crafting or maybe like 50, 60 divines to buy one, and I didn't really feel like it was necessary. So, you know, maybe something to think about, but yeah, anyway. As for the rings and the belt, you know, Darkness Enthroned, that counts as a helmet with a really high roll on that augment items bonus, was just very cheap at the like day 2, day 3 mark. And then Idol of Ralakesh gives you the efficiency of minion skills required to, I don't know, to like, you know, basically fit in another Sceptre. And Idol of Egrin just makes it so that monsters take a bunch of increased damage from your, like if they're applied by any of your curses, affected by any of your curses at all. So that's why we use Ellie weakness. It does work for Razan. It works for pretty much all of our minions except for Kalari. It doesn't really work for in terms of like lowering their resistance and not doing anything, but it does work for that Idol of Igrin, so still pretty good. And we shred enemy armor anyway, thanks to this bonus over here, Splintering Force. Like we destroy armor, so like vulnerability or any other curse wouldn't really work. I mean, you could do like Enfeeble or something, but I don't know. I think you're tanky enough. One alternative, now that I'm thinking about it, that you can use for your Anoint that is cheap is Soul Meridian. This will give you faster ES recharge, start, increased mana cost efficiency, which helps a little bit with mana, which the build can get a little spammy with Archon up, so that's not bad. And then it also gives you reservation efficiency of minion skills, which is pretty good. So this is a really good, cheaper option. Still not super cheap, but it is cheaper, and that's something you can use while you're still like working your way up to getting Dominion. There's also a helmet idol, the Idol of Ishta, that I've played around with using and actually kind of like, that reduces the cost on your spells as well. You know, it is a bit of a defensive drop to use this, but I don't know, I think it's kind of good. So yeah, ultimately kind of a fan of this. Might actually use this on some other builds as well, since it is all cost efficiency, you know, life, mana, whatever. Not reservation, but still like pretty good, right? Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the belt and gloves. So we've gotten a lot of questions about whether the belt and gloves from the Genesis tree, the breach stuff, is good, and the answer is yes, absolutely. So looking at belts, these are probably the most insane, like, of the things from the Genesis tree. You can get a +2 level of minion skills belt. Even a plus level, like +1, is like double-digit divines right now. +2 is like 60 divines with garbage stats on all the rest of the spots. So they are extremely rare and extremely valuable. So this is definitely something to fish for. Honestly, it's probably a way to use your Breach Womb gifts, even if you're not playing a minion build. Just craft this to try and like sell them to other people. In terms of other stats that are on there, this mod, increased damage with command skills, is insanely good, and most of the rest of the other skills are kind of mid. There is this reservation efficiency of minion skills mod that you can get on there. You have to get this through the Genesis tree, and it does count as a crafted mod, so you'll kind of have to deal with that. But, you know, that's pretty good. That might help you fit in another Sceptre or another minion of some kind. And then increased effective Archon buffs is also very good. It pretty much helps cancel out the downside of Dominion, the Anoint. Other than that, most of the rest of these are kind of mid. I believe this bonus also can be on there, but it also counts as a crafted mod. I think it's worse than the reservation efficiency of minion skills, since getting more Spectres does help with clear. This is going to cap out in realistic practice. If you're using Trap, Brutality, and Deception, you're going to get maybe like 36% increased minion damage, which does apply to all of your minions. not just the command ones, you know, so that's good, but it's like 30% maybe instead of like 50 to 60% increased command skill damage. Not that they're mutually exclusive, but it is mutually exclusive with the, you know, potential for an extra Sceptre. So not as big a fan of this bonus. And then also, you know, because you are having to spend points in the tree to get it, it means that like you may be boxing out, you know, either this Archon buffs or command skills bonus. So I would not go out of my way to get this. I would actively avoid this and just try to get either this one or literally just get neither of these two that are like, you know, require points on the tree, since you're only going to get 1 or 2 minion skill mods on a belt on average at a time anyway. You probably just want to fish for level of minion skill belt mods, so probably just don't bother with any of those, you know, opt-in mods at all. In terms of rings, those are a lot simpler. So the chance to get Puppet Master stacks is cool. Skill speed is fine. Cooldown recovery rate is really, really good. And then like crit damage bonus and crit chance are really good for your minions. Those will transfer over to your guys to make them do more damage. Increased damage is okay. Max life for your minions is fine. You know, I think the ultimate issue I have with using these on the character that I'm playing right now is I'm using these Vinner's Gambles to actually fix my resistances. And so it might be kind of hard to fit them in for that. They also give some rarity, which isn't bad. You know, not the end of the world to just try and sort out resistances elsewhere. But, you know, maybe this type of setup is like, it's going to eat into your stat budget a bit more to use one of these minion rings, and I think the level of damage that you get out of the minion belt is really insane. The level of damage that you get out of the minion rings for this build specifically is pretty decent. The increased cooldown recovery rate's really good, and that's about it in terms of being like super awesome. Not that skill speed isn't like bad, but you get a lot of it out of Puppet Master already. And then in terms of the amulets, there's, you know, crit damage and crit bonus. There's level of minion skills, but that already exists. And then increased damage with command skills once again. That's really good. That's about the only thing that's like super rare. And, you know, you do want spirit and like ES rolls ideally on your prefixes, so that's competing with them. You know, I mean, theoretically you could give up like an ES roll and get like 50% more damage or increased damage, right? 50-60% increased damage, but yeah, it's kind of a big defensive trade-off for not the hugest damage bonus. Also, I don't know if this calculator's to be believed, whether you can actually get like 3 level of minion skills out of the tree or not, but I haven't had any luck with crafting amulets out of the Genesis tree anyway, so I wouldn't worry too much about the Genesis tree for amulets. It really does seem like it's completely insane for belts, and then wasting your blood on rings and amulets feels like not as good of a deal. And then there are scepters. So really what you're looking for in terms of a scepter is like plus level of minion skills, you know, the highest you can get, 4 is the cap, increased damage, and increased spirit, right? Those are the 3 stats that you really want, and then everything else is kind of whatever. However, there is a stat that you can only get through alloys, and that alloy is, I have it pulled up here, the Runebinder's alloy. And what it does is it gives you 4 to 5 maximum stacks of Puppet Master. Now this is very optional, it's very overkill, right? I mean, I did all the content in the game without this, but if you are able to get a Sceptre and fracture that minion skills level, or if you just want to gamble, it has to not have any crafted mods on it, so it has to have an actual native increased damage mod on it rather than just like increased damage from an essence. You can throw this alloy on, it is a suffix, and you know, most of the suffixes on scepters are pretty bad for your minions. There's level of minion skills, which is insane. Then it's like stats or resistances or life. There's some crit and crit bonus that are like crit chance and crit bonus that are pretty good. Presence area of effect is not bad. Most of the rest of this is pretty bad though. So if you're able to get 4 to 5 extra stacks, max stacks on your Puppet Master, that's pretty insane. And then everything else seems to be pretty terrible for suffixes. So I would say I got pretty lucky with this one, with getting a fracture on the +4 level of all minion skills, and I did pay a pretty penny for the scepter. But then with that fracture, then it was very safe to just throw this alloy on and you You know, it does have that stupid light radius, but like that's not the end of the world. Mana regen is honestly not bad, and having, you know, 11 stacks for the max on Puppet Master instead of just 6 is, you know, basically like a 50% increase, added increased damage for the minions, and also like a bunch of skill speed and all of that. So really, really good, right? Like this is a probably triple digit Sceptre, you know, and one without that is still pretty good, pretty valuable, but obviously this is a big step up. In terms of your other gear, you know, you're going to want a helmet that has good defensive stats and +2 level of minion skills on it. That can occur naturally or as a desecration. You want to focus with good defensive stats and +2 level of minion skills on it. I believe that can only occur as a desecration. Both of those are suffixes. Ideally 3 minion skills, not 2 on your amulet, but you know, I'm living with it, it's fine. Defensive stats and move speed on your boots, defensive stats and maybe a little mana and kill on your gloves, you know, pretty normal looking stuff. Defensive stats and spirit on your body armor, kind of a normal setup, right? Okay, so that's ultimately what we've done with the build. It has absolutely flattened everything. It's been such a pleasure to play. I'm so glad that we chose to play this. You know, good call by Sunset for us to play this as the league starter for the build. It has been easily the strongest league starter we've ever done in PoE1 or PoE2, and just really, really enjoying this build, and you should try it out and enjoy it as well. Alright, be sure to like and subscribe, and hype the video as well if you're on mobile, if you enjoyed it or found it helpful in any way, and finally, thank you to all of our channel members. If you want to support us and help us make more PoE content, consider becoming a channel member as well. Thanks for watching. Bye.